The Red Raiders handled business on the road and secured their ninth Big 12 victory of the year, all but assuring themselves a spot in the NCAA tournament. In today's recap video, we'll do just that, recap the Texas Tech at West Virginia game and tell you why your Red Raiders are an NCAA tournament lock. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And if you're excited about Texas Tech men's basketball going back to the NCAA tournament in year number 1 of Grant McCasland, I want you to do one thing and one thing only. Like the video. That's all we need to do. I'm excited because this felt like a must-win game for the Red Raiders. And listen, they had me in the first half. I'm not going to lie. Where they were down 16 points at one point, 20-4. Not ideal, but as we know, watching this team all year long, this Texas Tech team does not quit until the final whistle. We'll talk about it in great detail here in just a second. But before we get into it, do one thing for me and like the video if you're excited about Texas Tech men's basketball making it back to the NCAA tournament. All right, let's talk about this win because, again, it really wasn't pretty when it came down to the start of things, but I talked about it in the preview that if Texas Tech was going to get back to what they do best, which is shooting the basketball, I thought small ball was the way to go. And they did that for stretches, but I also want to give credit to Robert Jennings and McMillian. Did they have crazy stat lines? No, they really didn't. Robert Jennings was really solid on the boards, though, with 7 rebounds, but they were just what you needed in terms of making Jesse Edwards uncomfortable for small stretches of time, and that allowed Texas Tech to get back into the game. But let's run down this recap real quick. It started out slow. They were 1 of 10 from the field. As I mentioned, they were down 16 at one point in this game in the first half. Joe Toussaint and his return to Morgantown was sensational. 1 point away from tying his career high of 22 points. He had 21 and 7 assists and a couple of steals as well that led to some fast break opportunities for the Red Raiders. Now, Texas Tech, the big pivotal thing for them offensively, they got back on track shooting the basketball as a team. They shot 13 of 31 from 3, just under 42%. I mean, they were awesome in this game in terms of shooting the basketball. And the crazy thing is your best shooter, Kerwin Walton, had arguably his worst shooting game in the past month. But you had guys like Pop Isaacs who stepped up and made a couple timely threes, had a couple threes late in the shot clock where he just had to jack it up, and that really diminished his three-point shooting percentage there. But Chance McMillian, I thought, was great in this matchup. 19 points, 5 of 11 from 3. Good to see a couple go through the net for him. He, much like Pop Isaacs, was struggling from deep. Those two got back on track a little bit in this ball game. Now, the star of the show, and it really feels like we're talking about him in every video we discuss Texas Tech men's basketball, is Darrion Williams. He played all 40 minutes. I have not seen anybody talk about that in the Texas Tech Twitter sphere right now. But he played all 40 minutes in this matchup against West Virginia. He had 17 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. He was sensational. And over his last 8 games, he has been an all Big 12 first-team caliber player. He has been sensational for Texas Tech. Another sensational stat for the Red Raiders in this one, they won the rebounding battle in this one just by 2 rebounds, but you won it. And considering you didn't have arguably your most important player in Warren Washington in the front court, there's something to be said for that. Now, they also just looked better from a playmaking perspective. That was one thing that I really was struggling with for Texas Tech over the past couple weeks, where they were struggling a little bit, and outside of that TCU game and a little bit of a run there, the playmaking just really wasn't that great. But the Red Raiders came into a game where, yes, they are better than West Virginia. I don't think anybody's going to debate that, right? But this was a huge game for Texas Tech, in the sense that not only did they need to win it to get back on track, right? But getting 9 wins in the Big 12 secures them in the tournament. Now, seeding is up for grabs, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But in terms of being solidified in the NCAA tournament, you're in now. You're 100% in if you're the Red Raiders. And just having that 9th victory was absolutely pivotal. In the way that they fought back from 16 down was also critical, I think, for a snowball effect for Texas Tech these last couple games in the regular season, going into Kansas City, and now playing in the NCAA tournament here in just a couple of weeks. Speaking of March Madness, hey, It's right around the corner, baby. And you can get your new favorite Texas Tech t-shirt over at homefieldapparel.com, the official sponsor of today's video here on the Back to 12 podcast. All you got to do if you want to get your new favorite Texas Tech shirt, and listen, I've got 3 vintage ones from them. They are my favorite Texas Tech shirts in my collection right now. You can go get your new favorite Texas Tech shirt over at homefieldapparel.com. And when you do, use the code BACK212 to save 15% off your entire purchase. Not just one shirt, your entire purchase. Get ready for March Madness by heading on over to homefieldapparel.com and getting your new favorite Texas Tech shirt today with the code BACK212 to save 15%. All right, let's talk about Texas Tech firmly being in the NCAA tournament, because I always said it was 8 wins, but that skid really had me questioning my thought process. But now with 9, you're a lock. You're 100% a lock. Now, more than anything, Texas Tech is fighting to get the double bye in Kansas City. And for those that don't know what that is, it's a little different this year in Kansas City in the sense of you got more teams, right? So you have to have a bigger bracket. And the best 4 teams in the Big 12 get a double bye. And that's huge for a team like Texas Tech, who is struggling with injuries a little bit and really just has a ton of usage for guys in terms of getting an extra day of rest and having a much better chance to make the semifinals and even maybe the finals of the Big 12 tournament. You would already be into the quarterfinals, which would be huge for Texas Tech. Right now, as it stands, Texas Tech is currently tied for 4th in the Big 12 alongside Kansas and BYU. However, if the season ended like it would right now in terms of the standings, Texas Tech would have the double bye for the sheer standpoint of you beat Kansas and you beat BYU. You have both of the tiebreakers if you're the Red Raiders. Now, again, this is huge for Texas Tech from not only a standpoint of, okay, well, it's good to finish in the top 4 of the conference. It's the best conference in America. That is a huge milestone for Grant McCasland and crew in year number 1, considering the injuries that this team and really the illness that this team suffered during the middle of the season. That would be huge for Texas Tech just from a momentum standpoint, not only on the recruiting trail, but just from an overall program outlook, right? But securing a top 4 seed, more importantly, gives you a much better chance to have meaningful wins that help your resume in the NCAA tournament in the sense of your seeding, okay? The committee has already proven time and time again that these conference tournaments don't hurt you. They only help you, okay? So if Texas Tech was in the quarterfinals, and let's say they win their quarterfinal matchup, that's probably going to be a quad 1 win. Another quad 1 win probably moves you up on the seed line at least 1 spot. Where does Texas Tech end up on the seed line? Well, that's TBD. But with 2 regular season games to go, it's awesome to see that Texas Tech is a lock right now, as I said on the bottom of the screen right there. But it's even better, in my opinion, that they have a chance at the double bye and to add a couple of more quad 1 wins and really elevate their seeding to the likes of, I don't think Texas Tech is going to be able to get to a 5 seed. Now, maybe if they win the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City, that happens. But right now, I think realistically, Tech is probably on that fringe 7, fringe 6 line as it stands right now. But crazier things have happened, and we've seen time and time again that this Red Raider squad does not give up, regardless of who they're playing each and every night. Now, it's also really good to see some shots go in from deep, because if you are a Texas Tech fan, you know one of the most critical aspects of this offense for Texas Tech is to make the 3 ball. It's their great equalizer with the lack of size and depth that they have. And if you can get Pop Isaacs close to what he's been in the past at Texas Tech, and Chance McMillian, what he's proven to be at the D1 level, starting at Grand Canyon and now at Texas Tech, you're cooking with grease if you're Texas Tech, and it couldn't come at a better time if you are the Red Raiders. At the bottom of your screen, you see it right there. Simply give the video a like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. And if that's not enough for you, like the video if you're excited about Texas Tech men's basketball being an NCAA tournament lock. Your Red Raiders will be participating in March Madness, and we all know the madness is, I don't know about you. I'll go ahead and speak for myself. I shouldn't say as we know, but for me, the NCAA tournament, it doesn't get much better than that, man. I mean, that might be my favorite sporting event in all of sports, professional, college, it don't matter. There's nothing like the madness, and your Red Raiders will be a part of it this season. All right, I am RC Maxfield reminding you, if you want to stay in the know on Texas Tech men's basketball all year long, where we might be having a live stream during that NCAA tournament game for your Red Raiders, you're going to want to stay in the know for that, for those that stuck through the whole video here, Be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on Texas Tech men's basketball and football all year long right here on the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube in the Back to 12 podcast channel.